Joined by Brian Hayes and Jay McLennan from Overdrive, TSN 1050 in Toronto. Okay, gentlemen, the most popular team with lots of star power, high expectations, flamed out early in the playoffs. Yes, that does fit the Toronto Maple Leafs, but we're not talking about the Leafs right now. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Hazer, you are a huge Packers fan, so I'm sure that you enjoyed last night's game. But are the Cowboys a cautionary tale for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yes, they always are. It's like looking in a mirror, these two teams, right? Because you could argue what the Cowboys should have been doing before the game yesterday was watching the Maple Leafs of the past to make sure that they don't fall into the same trap. We're talking the two biggest fan bases in each respective sport. We're talking about fans throughout each sport that it's completely polarizing. You either love the Leafs or love the Cowboys, or hate the Leafs, or hate the Cowboys. There's no in between. No one's like, I kind of like the Leafs, I kind of like the Cowboys, and they're always overcovered, overhyped, and a lot of times their fans really start to buy into it, and then they underdeliver. We saw it yesterday, Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, everyone across the board. The Cowboys were awful. The Leafs have been bad. I don't know if they've ever been that bad. They got crushed last night. But yes, the Leafs and Cowboys, it is a mirror image.
It's a cautionary tale, but the thing for me is, it's noisy, and that's the one thing where the Cowboys, it is weird. You just said that you can't be a Cowboys fan and can't be a Leaf fan. I'm a Leaf fan, but I'm not a Cowboys fan. Is that all right with this? Because I look at this, and everything about these fan bases is noisy. If there's a secondary player, all of a sudden that guy's a hero out of nowhere if the guy has a good game. That's where I think the guys and the players in the room buy into it. They might think they're a little bit better than themselves, and that's where I think the cautionary tale is for both organizations, because I look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're a very good team. Obviously, you've gone to the playoffs, you've got star power, but they haven't gotten over the hump. The Dallas Cowboys, for as long as I can remember, they've never gotten over the hump. So that's the biggest challenge for them.
Cautionary tale means you learn from past experience. Dallas was in a good spot at the trade deadline in the NFL. They didn't do much. Safe to say the Leafs better not follow that same script when their trade deadline comes up on March the 8th, or they're in big trouble.
100%, because I think the Toronto Maple Leafs, the way they're constructed, there's a lot of talent at the top, but there's holes in that lineup, and they do need it filled.
Multiple holes in multiple spots.
Exactly. So you've got to deal with the goaltending, or at least figure out who's going to be your starter, the guy you trust down the stretch. The defensive core, I think there's a bunch of 5, 6, and 7s there, although Morgan Riley is an all-star, and he's been fantastic. But everybody else, I think, kind of falls into that lump. And then up front, you've got the top-heavy team, but there is some depth issues still for me, especially on that fourth line. So Tree's got his work cut out for him at the deadline.
Yeah, this is actually where they separate this year. Dallas was 12-5. They won the division. They had a home game. They were the 2 seed in the NFC. That's not going to happen with the Maple Leafs, right? The way Florida's playing, the way Boston's playing, and the way the Maple Leafs have been playing. Very inconsistent. As of now, they're on pace for 100 points. That's going to be a playoff team. They've been a very good playoff team for a number of years. But I think the Leafs have more holes at this point in their season than the Cowboys did in Week 6 or Week 8, which, again, means there's a lot of work to do. And I don't think they're one move away from unlocking something special, whether that's a coaching change, bringing in a top 4 defenseman, bringing in a third-string goaltender. The Maple Leafs are not one move away. I think they're multiple moves away. So I'm very curious to see what Tree Living and company do come the deadline.
Speaking of goaltending, Joseph Wall and Martin Jones are tied for the team lead with 8 wins each midway through the season. 8 wins leads the team. That's teams that are currently in a playoff spot right now. That is the fewest wins by any goaltender as a team leader on that club.